All right. Hello, everyone. We are recording this on Halloween, and we're not here to terrify you, but we are here to do another Kernels episode of Kernels. And if you're not familiar with the series, it's a short pop of professional development. We record them with people who are universally acknowledged to be doing cool things in their library. And so we want to get the word out about it. And we have Alison and Jacy from the Indianola Public Library, and they're here today to talk to us about their board game collection. And I approached them about this because I visited Indianola several months ago. I think it was over the summer now. And the first thing you see when you walk in the library is this huge shelving unit stuffed full of board games for all ages. And I was so thrilled and so excited to see the collection. And we've seen other things on Library Talk and other places that other people want to be doing this too. And I'm sure it's a lot of work, but also a lot of fun. So they agreed to come today to talk to us about the collection. So can you guys give us a little bit of background on the origins of the collection? How long have you had it? Why did you decide to start it? I'll let you decide who wants to answer.
So I was actually in Jacy's position before she started here. We started it back in 2019. I'd been really wanting to start a board game collection for a couple of years at that point, and it was just the timing was right. We could finagle our budget around, and I found some really cool ways to get some free games. So we could start off with a good chunk of the base of the collection. And so I told Michelle, our director, that I wanted to make, my goal was to make this board game collection the biggest in the state. And I don't know if it is, but it'd be really cool.
I think you've got to be close. Do you have a number? We can record we'll put this out there and see then if anyone writes back to say, no, mine's bigger. Well,
yeah, please let us know.
Yeah, we're roughly 320 right now, and I haven't purchased in a hot minute, so that will likely rise soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're about 322, skewing towards the younger ages, but we can talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Largest board game collection in the state, we think.
We think.
Very cool. And I think when a lot of people think about board games, you think about all those little pieces, and like it's one thing to count to make sure there's still 4 little Candyland dudes in the box when it comes back, but like I'm thinking about some of the games like my husband plays that have pieces and pieces and art and cards, and you got to have everything. That's got to be a policy, right? That you've got some of these. Like, how do you manage this business?
Yeah, it is more of a staff procedure than an official policy, but we do have a system when things come in, and this extends to some of our other non-traditional collections, like the puzzles if they're smaller piece counts, and the library of things as well. But we do have an inventory sheet we use to count games as they come in. It's a 2-check process. So one staff member does it, confirms everything's there. The second one does it, confirms everything's there, and then they sign off that they've checked it in as well, because that part is easy to forget. Mm-hmm. So it is a little bit of an arduous process, depending on what kind of game. I try to keep it in mind. If I'm buying a game that has about 1,000 pieces, I'll see like, okay, does it really fit a gap? Like, are people going to really check it out? So it is a consideration, but our staff is thankfully very gracious and very used to just flipping through a bunch of cards like when they're in the back there. So we double staff the desk, so there's someone available to do so, and we just try to make it work, and it's worked so far for us, and it's worth the time and the staff effort to make sure everything's there, rather than just having patrons come back with like half filled boxes from previous people or from whatever happens, and us having to remove a game. So
I think you said before we started recording you had a sample of one of those sheets. Do you want to pull that up?
Yes.
The games. So the 322 number, Alison, while she's pulling that up, that does not include puzzles then?
It does not. I think we have about 480, including the puzzles.
Very
So,
cool.
yeah.
And we just got in a cart of puzzles as well. So, and Michelle purchases those. She's much like farther ahead of me on getting those added. So
She's kind of a puzzle nut. So
Mhm.
she actually requested to be the one to purchase the
oversee that one,
puzzles.
yeah.
Oh, puzzles are so fun for me, but I never have time for them. All right. Okay. So we have the inventory here.
Yeah, so here, and this you can see includes library of things, games, and puzzles. And the less than 50 pieces is more for the puzzles. So we have some of those large piece children's puzzles, which are like 48 pieces. Even if it gets like a little close to 100, we might just flip through it real quick. So inventory and check-in here. So the instructions are pretty straightforward. You look through it, and we have a content list in each of any of these things, which I do also have a photo of. And then we do need to check if anything is like scuffed up or damaged, as well as missing. And then we kind of send them to our staff member, Jody, who is just so great at keeping an oversight of these things. But I do also often take these to fix them. And then the second person who goes through to inspects then checks it in. So we write down like a short title of the item, the day that we're looking at it, and then the 2 inspection initialings, and then these 2 initials should be the same because it's the second inspection and the check-in. So, and
Did you
then
have can we see a copy of like an inventory sheet as well? Or
yeah.
a checklist from a game if you have that handy?
We definitely can. All right, and then can you see this, or let me,
I'm still seeing inventory and check-in for now.
there we go, extra buttons.
There we are.
Okay.
I see.
So this is the inside of a game here, and I think I can flip through these here, but this is Forbidden Island here with some of our markings. And then we do have the inventory sheet here. It's pretty straightforward. We try to be descriptive with these, but also not too descriptive because there may be different types of cards. But if they're all in one stack, we'll just say 58 cards and then you count them. So that's kind of some common ways that we title the items inside the box.
Yeah, fabulous. So you mentioned you've been at this since 2019, Allison. I'm kind of curious what the general community reception has been since that time as you've built the collection. And
Yeah, it's been really great. There's always games checked out. There's, especially around the holidays, like it's really, really popular for people to, for people visiting in town. We get a big rush right before any holiday. Yeah, it was really great. It was a little slow, like all new collections, when, for people to realize that it was a thing that we had at the library, but we promoted it. We, posted about it a lot, and I think word has gotten out now.
And I also love that you feature it so promineently in the library. You cannot miss it when you walk in. There are games at the
one of the really important pieces that we talked about was, and we can show you a picture of this too, of what they look like in the shelving. We try to get as many of them face out as possible, because that's how people really look to see a game, if a game is going to be fun. So yeah, it's very obvious when you walk in. You're like, whoa, and then people just get sucked into that section.
They walk the whole length of it, and they're like, what's this? What's this? But yeah, we even have donations that come from families. So we have little stickers on the inside donated by a various family who just absolutely love a game and they want to share it with the rest of the community. So.
And we do memorials just like we did, books and things too. So
yeah, so it's really nice. I'm gonna pull up some of those pictures we talked about if that's good. So we have, here's just the sheer breadth we have here. This is beautifully angled by Alison, but it's
hard to get the whole thing in one
picture. Yes. And then we also have, let me see here. So this is what we mean by how we shelve it. We have face out as much as possible. And we do, this is kind of the puzzle area, but the games and the puzzles are all the same. But we have pieces here and then, oh, here's games. Here we go. So we do mark the different sections and then we have the ages listed. So you'll see ages 2 to 5 plus here. This is the front end, so it goes younger all the way to older through the stacks. So yeah.
That's really fabulous. Yes, I love the age delineation. You can kind of think through like, okay, it's so much easier. I know nothing about this game. I found it on the internet. Is it going to be good for my 5-year-old? I don't know. And you can kind of come and look at it and see. That's really nice.
Yeah.
I was also going to mention when we're talking about the community response, do you ever get pushback on like what's the library doing with all that stuff that's not books? Did your board ever say like, sell this to us? We buy books, right?
Yeah. There was a little bit of questions, but we have a really great supportive board.
Mm-hmm.
So once we described, like this is, it's a community center. The library is a community center. And one of those things we do is, help with gatherings and family groups and friend groups and things. And I think just as much as, a DVD or a book club, a game can be a similar tool for getting people together and supporting your community and encouraging people getting together. Because I think it's really, people crave that anymore nowadays.
Yeah.
And being in person and everything. So once we kind of told them, and we have games that are really a little
enriching.
Yeah, we
Yes.
we have a lot of fun games, but we also have some more educational games. We include those as well. We have games like the RPG games. Man,
Mhm.
those fit right in with
Strategy.
what a library is all about, with critical thinking and like the storyline and like plot building and character development and all those things.
Yeah.
So I think it fits really well with it aligns really well with our library's goals and our mission and everything. So yeah.
As we were prepping for this, I was thinking about, kind of all the different literacies that gameplay supports. And obviously, like you get the right educational game and there is probably like a reading element for a younger kid. You have to read what that card says, whatever. But then I just think there's so much social literacy in it too, learning how to lose well and take turns. And so I think the more I think about it, the more I just think, and like you said, the community program building, the getting together of people, I think this is such a great fit for a library. I love it.
Yeah.
Have you done programming around the games? You mentioned that a little bit. Do you ever have game night at the library for whatever age?
We did. We started when we started the game collection that summer. Like I think we started in the spring for it to be ready for summer because that's when everybody comes to the library. And we did have like Wednesday nights, where adult board game night, and that went okay. But it could have gone better. So, and I know once Jacy took over, she's kind of done a couple things.
We've tried a couple. I want to try again. I think there was that post-COVID like slump that we experienced a little bit where people weren't necessarily engaging as much. But I think I've cultivated enough similar programs that also I plug a lot of these collections, these non-traditional collections at a lot of related programs. So the murder mystery, for example, if people are like really excited and all, oh my gosh, that was such a great
life-size
mystery.
Clue.
I tell them we have a Nancy Drew game that's a mystery. We have Body on the Boardwalk. We have a couple of different like things that they can still engage with. So I try to pair things a little in order to advocate for the collections that I oversee at my programs. But there's nothing necessarily dealing directly with the board game collection. I hope to revive that soon and to get people coming in for that. But yeah, the D&D groups, I usually they ask for programming. I direct them to our board games in the meantime while we decide if we're able to do that. So yeah, we pair it a little bit, but we don't have any direct board game nights currently. But it still fits so well in with the escape rooms, the murder mystery programs that we do. So
That's so
We
fun.
did just start the Janice with the children's program. She just started a chess club.
she
So,
did. Mhm.
and they've met once or twice, once, I think. I don't know, a couple, I think they have it like every other week or so.
Yeah.
And that's started
That's
pretty
worth
well.
it,
So, I think, we're just getting the foundations
Kind
for
of-
people to come back, and now we have a chess club, and I think we might, Jacy will take care of that
I'll
pretty
figure
easy.
something
Yeah.
out.
She has a following now, so.
Yes. Well, I just think there's such kind of I heard someone joking about it, like my 20-year-old kids get together and play board games, like tabletop games. Like, this is so dorky, but like, I'm one of those people. I mean, I'm not 20, but like, it's a lot of fun, and it's such a way to engage that sort of middle age,
Mhm.
the young age demographic, I think. And these games are beautiful as well.
Yeah, and we also have, most of our games are the younger side.
Yes, the most
Yeah.
circulation.
But
yeah.
but I think a close second is our party games, where it
Yeah.
is like multi-generational.
Yeah.
So we do
Mind
have
the
a couple, like Mind the Gap is so much fun. And it's specifically like, you want to get people from different generations to play that together. And which is why people come for the holidays. And there's so many uses for the board game collection, so.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a little bit, but talk about the acquisitions process. So how do you find out about new games? Some of these can be very expensive. How have you funded the program and built it up?
Yeah, so I think I can speak to the recent stuff, but I think what we started with that core collection was game donations, right? Reaching out to companies and saying, "Hey, we're a library," and usually that lights a little light
Most
bulb
of them
there.
love it, and they
Mhm.
send you, we asked for like one game from like a handful of companies, and most of them sent multiple games our way. And there's a list of companies to contact. I think I was kicked out of the Facebook group due to inactivity. Because I don't do that anymore, but I think it was the ALA
group, right?
Was it, or the League of Librarian Gamers, or
Which
what?
I might be in now. We can find that list and follow up, because I think that would be helpful.
I tried to find it, but like,
Yeah.
I'm not a part of that anymore.
Yeah.
Kick me out.
Do you
so.
remember any of the companies off of that, so we can shout them out? Or
Haba.
Yeah.
I think it's like a German company.
they're like the kids.
They're the kids ones, and they're really, really simple. And they're a really great cross between educational and fun. They're so cute. They use like really nice like wooden pieces. And who else? Rio Grande Games.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of any others off the top of my head right now, but
we can get that list as well.
Yeah.
But then for the current, I think when the collection started justifying itself, we were able to build in that budget. Thankfully, people saw that, recognized it, and allowed us to build that into the budget. I will say, once you do get a consistent amount of games, the sheer amount that we have currently, obviously, like, there's plenty there, and we could coast off of that amount for as long as we need to. So as long as you do get that core collection, whether through donations and or carving out a budget for it, it really just speaks for itself and stands there for a while. We repair games as needed. You can contact companies for replacement parts.
They're really great about that.
Usually saying library will get some movement there, or else, purchasing extra sets, or if you have any kind of maker space, you can make some replacement pieces.
Yeah.
So even just a small collection will run far with you. But as for acquisitions and like choosing what to buy, it really is driven by what people are checking out. So I have beefed up the younger kind of area with some educational games that are still fun. So just following what the community is taking, you just add more. And then I look to companies that do this professionally. So the Dealt Hand is one of them, and I look at their game collection. Obviously, it doesn't replace them coming in and providing the service of running a game night.
Which they have come for
Which
that,
they
so
do,
we
and
did
they
do that.
We
yeah.
did do that, but they are a good place to look if you're like, I'm not sure what games to get, what are people playing, and they have some great options there. And then just asking your community. I mean, we do purchase requests all the time. I have a handful on my desk right now to purchase board games with, so. Yeah,
That's
just
great.
listening.
I love those suggestions. And the thing one, you mentioned that a family will be like, we love this game. We bought a copy for the library. I think that's so fabulous. And I had no idea about the company sending freebies. But I imagine you get people who come in saying, we've wanted to try this game for a long time. They check it out from the library and then they buy their own copy because they love it.
Especially the more expensive ones. Like
Sure.
I honestly thought those would be the ones when we started that would go a lot more. So we had more of those, the 1,000-piece, tons of little mech guys.
Warhammer.
Warhammer. Like
That's been weeded.
That one didn't check out at all.
No.
I mean, you would have thought that these really expensive games would be the ones to, get checked out more, because it is quite an investment, some of those bigger games. So yeah, you could try it out at the library, but it makes total sense that our younger games are going like hotcakes. I mean, there's some of them just are never on the shelf, and they're in direct sight lines from the kids section too. So
it's like the candy section is right next to the checkout kind of thing. I like that. So, you mentioned in our sort of conversation, pre-conversation notes that you do have those different age groups. How have you divided those? What are the different age groups you've separated them out into?
Yeah, so it's purely based on shelving. So what we need room for, and, important age groups, like it's not like a 2 to 12, because that's, a huge range there. We kind of piece it out a bit more than that. So I think it's like 2 to 5, and then 5 to 7, and then 7 to 10, 7 to 8. So we kind of piece it out a bit.
Based on the collection and based on how they fit on the shelves.
Yes. And those like nice little chunks that fit, like, like I said, 7 to 14 even would not quite be as informational as we would want.
We do
it
like
to be
8 to 10.
Helpful.
Yeah.
So, and then in order to designate those different ages, we just go purely off of what the games say themselves. We trust that the manufacturers are properly, putting things out there. And obviously we do, if we look at a game and it looks like it's wildly not supposed to be in that age group, we'll reassess as needed, but it's fairly consistent on the guidelines that they have for those games, printing the recommended age, recommended amount of players. They're always going to be on those board games. So it's really kind of the easiest part, thankfully.
Yeah.
Do you have any just purely practical pieces of advice? Store them this way, buy this thing, don't buy that thing. How would you, any you're going to hit the ground running trick if you do this?
Yeah, I think if you think about it before you start and know what parts you can implement, because in an ideal world, you think about it, you have a procedure for staff to inventory on check-in. You have all the things, all the parts listed out, and you have everything marked thoroughly. So I'm just going to share again really quickly. Even one of these is obsolete now because we marked it so much when we first did this. So here we have, I think all of these pieces are important and it looks excessive, but my practical advice is do the work beforehand so that it works out down the line. So we have our barcode, we have the age range, the amount of players, the time it takes to play, which is all provided in the game information. Missing pieces, let us know. And then our stamp and everything. These two colored ones we don't necessarily put on there as much because people know it's a week and then we don't care if they return it in or out. But just all of these pieces seem excessive, but they're really important. And just think about it before you do this collection. And when you do, even if it's small, it's still going to be a great thing, and people are going to love it. So.
Yeah. I would
Is
highly
that
recommend.
blue- Oh, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that blue band.
That's
something
exactly what I was gonna say.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is that?
I would highly recommend doing the H bands, or the X bands. It depends on how you find them. Highly recommend. Those keep, I mean, because these are used quite a bit. They get a lot of action. So the boxes sometimes come a little loose and you want to keep everything together. So the rubber band is included in the inventory sheet as well. And it's been very important.
Yeah. I should say the inventory sheet should be pretty exhaustive, because not only does it have the rubber band, but it has the inventory sheet on it. I'm pretty sure it says that. Maybe I'm crazy, but
No, it's this sheet.
One content sheet, this sheet. Yep.
This
Yeah.
one right
So,
here.
this sheet.
And then the X band. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Do you keep, I assume you keep extra copies of that content sheet. So if it comes back without it, the staff checking it in knows they can go find
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll just reprint it out. So it is digital as well. So
Yeah,
we
there's
do
a
keep-
very large document with all of them.
Yes, and another thing is, another part of the exhaustive setup I highly recommend is some of these, we do have pictures. So this one was a smaller thing, and you
was
could
early
describe
on.
things pretty well, and it was an early game, because this is a classic that everybody should have. But we do try to include pictures, especially in those 1,000-piece games. It makes it so much easier. You just see the different figures and you're like, okay, cool. And you see one that doesn't have a sword anymore and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
that one's damaged.
It's the pictures also make it a lot easier for staff who don't know the game, who are like, well, I don't know what the playing cards are supposed to look like, or I don't know what this is supposed to look like. What kind of pawns? Like, what do you mean? So that's been a learning curve. Also, we started off weighing the games instead of counting the pieces, and that because there was a lot of pushback from staff, honestly. I have to count how many pieces, like, you want me to do that? Like, so expect that. But now it's been folded into everybody's, I mean, it's quick. You see that there's a game that needs to be inspected. You have a free, 15 seconds. I mean, not even, like, you count the cards real quick and you sign it off. Like, it's just been.
What about the weighing didn't work? Was it not precise enough?
It wasn't precise enough, and we didn't feel comfortable charging a patron for, like, if a piece doesn't come back. We tested it, and most of the early games it worked, but once we started getting a more diverse game collection, it wasn't precise enough, and we just didn't feel comfortable charging people for mistakes that they didn't make.
The game was supposed to weigh 1,200 grams. It came back weighing 1,100 grams. Please go look around your house for something that weighs 100 grams.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then now you can say this was supposed to have 6 little guys with it, 6 pawns with it.
Yeah.
I only have 5. Can you take a look around?
Yep.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, let me pull our question list back up. I feel like we're getting down to the bottom. Anything else you want to say from a policy perspective? So if one of these comes back missing, it absolutely cannot be found. Do they pay the replacement cost for the game? How do you handle some of that from a policy perspective?
We do have a lot of, let me stop sharing here. We do have a lot of leeway here. So it is a case by case, and that sounds scary, but I promise it makes sense. So when we are going through a game and we do see that first person usually sees something's missing, and then we do try to have the second person come through account, confirm that that thing is missing and it's not like underneath the insert in the game, which happens way too often. So we check our end as thoroughly as possible. And then the initial thing is to reach out to the patron and just notify them that, hey, this is missing. And anything but the inventory sheet. Usually the inventory sheet we'll just print out and like fix or whatever, but anything else, we'll give them a heads up and we'll say, hey, can you take a look around? If you see it, can you please bring it in? And usually that's like a voicemail because it's business hours, or someone will say, oh, I'm not sure, and then they'll look. Then it kind of hits a point in the back behind the desk where Jody sees it or I see it, and we start to look at it and think, okay, can we make a replacement? Do we have extra pieces? She has this beautifully organized set of envelopes with extra pieces from games. And this is just after, you know, the years that we've been doing this and the collections of like, we replace a game, we keep some pieces. So we'll kind of develop that over time if you do this for long enough. So then we'll check, and if we can replace it, we'll do that. We'll give the patron a call and we'll say, we actually had a replacement, depending on how long, because sometimes we want them to bring it back, so we still have the extras. So we kind of play that by ear a little bit. If we can fix it or replace it, we will. And the worst case scenario, they can't find it or they insist that it wasn't there when they got it. We can't replace it. We can't craft a replacement. At that point, we see if we can purchase just those pieces and we bill for that. And then worst case scenario, none of that works. There's no replacement. We can't buy just pieces. We do bill them for the full game.
Have we done that?
We have.
Okay.
We have. And we don't do it often. And the thing with that is that for us, the game is not playable.
Yeah.
So if it was playable without the piece, we would not do any of this. We wouldn't have hit that point. But the other thing is when they do pay for the game, they get it. So they now have this game, and then if
the missing piece
later they find the piece, then they have a full game. So yes.
That's funny.
So, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So any final words of advice to a librarian thinking of starting up a board game collection? How would you encourage them?
Yeah, I mean,
do your research.
Do your research. But as long as you're pre-prepared enough, and even if you're not, because we've adjusted things as we've gone along. I mean, I've changed things and I just, got it this last year or two.
Yeah, and especially to fit our staff's workflow, it's going to be, just keep that in mind, like be flexible, make sure it works for your staff's workflow.
Yep. And don't be discouraged is my biggest thing, because this was a weird thing that people were like, what, and then they let us do it. They supported us in it. They were nervous, but we did it, or Alison did it. And then we kept it going. And we're at the point where people love the board game collection. We talk about it all the time. People are wowed when they see it. And even in the back end of things, our staff, if they're counting it out, they leave it like set out really nicely for the next person. And it's just like a really, I think it's really fun that they do that, and that they and we jump in and count too. And people are just so positive when things like that come through. And adding this sort of collection can open the door for other things for your library. It helped me justify a video game collection, which we then added. So it's fun. It opens doors and people overall love it. So.
Well, fabulous. I'm so thankful to each of you for your time, and we'll look for those links to the different Facebook groups you mentioned. And if we can, we'll link those in a handout or in the show notes here if you're watching on YouTube. But I always love these kernels. They're so fun. We've got a whole playlist of them on our YouTube channel. So I hope if you're watching, you can check out more of them. Thanks to Jacy and to Alison for being with us today. And happy Halloween if you are watching this the day it airs. But we are just so excited about board games. And I think I might have to get my Indianola library card and make a drive down. So, all right. Thank you guys very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank you.